It's quite ridiculous that, isn't it? 3 Carrera GTs in the sunshine. Hello one and all, welcome to Seeing Through Glass. Welcome to the Octane collection. Now I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Today is actually my last day of filming before I head off on holiday. I feel like I've been needing some time off. The first half of this year has been so insane and I've been running at such a rate that I've been feeling a bit of creative burnout. Done some amazing stuff so far in 2022 and all of your feedback has been incredible. I'm feeling the pressure a little bit. Picking up the camera, I'm kind of doubting myself before I've even hit record. So yes, take a little bit of time off, a week or so, just to refresh the creative juices. But before I do that, I thought I'd kind of go out in style by filming a fairly ridiculous car down here at the Octane collection. It's none of those, it's actually inside the showroom. So yes, you would have already known this from the title, but the car I'm here to film is that Koenigsegg CCXR Edition. That's the last ever manual Koenigsegg. I mean, that car's so much more impressive than just the fact it's a manual, but we're going to get into that in a second. First up, I need to do a bit of story time. And that's because I don't actually tend to film that many Koenigsegg's, so I'm aware that this video may bring some new viewers to the channel. If you are new, hello, let me introduce myself. My name is Sam. I tend to do lots of annoying hand movements. I'm a car enthusiast, not a car expert. I tend to film the cars that I like, mainly Ferraris and Porsches, and upload those videos here to YouTube. Historically, I haven't always been that nice about or that big a fan of Koenigseggs. Not because of the cars themselves, but kind of the way they're portrayed on social media. Now originally, I was first introduced to Koenigsegg via Top Gear in that iconic clip when the Stig spun off the track into the long grass. And I thought, oh my God, what is this insane, over-engineered hypercar, which clearly is an absolute monster to drive. But then over time, it felt like on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whenever Koenigsegg was mentioned, it was how expensive the car was, or it was gold, or it was just so amazing. I was like, oh my God, bore off. I mean, I know that's what social media is all about, but it just annoyed me because it felt like we were forgetting just what incredible engineering marvels these cars are. Now, I have to say, I have met lots of Koenigsegg owners, and they tend to be very knowledgeable, super enthusiastic ambassadors for the brand. But somehow that just gets lost in all the kind of bravado that goes around Agueras and Regueras and turning up to car shows in America in them and being like, ooh, look at me, I'm so wealthy. So today, I kind of want to bring it back to basics, and that's why this is the perfect car to focus on, because in my mind, it kind of represents the original, maybe still, ambition of Koenigsegg for their cars. Ultimate, engineered driver's cars. This has 1,000 horsepower. It's a manual, hydraulic steering, rear-wheel drive beast. To me, that sounds like a pretty incredible modern classic hypercar. Now, like many modern Koenigseggs, the way to fully appreciate the engineering that has gone into creating this car is to fully open it up. If you've ever seen anything about Koenigsegg before, you'll know that doesn't mean just opening the doors. I have to admit, it's a pretty cool party piece that you can open up a Koenigsegg like this. So, what is the CCXR Edition? Well, to understand that, we need to go back to the start of Koenigsegg, when founder, Christian von Koenigsegg, used a model called the CC8S to achieve global homologation status for his cars, meaning he could sell them worldwide. This is an insanely long and expensive process which very few other low production manufacturers can justify doing. So the CCX model was brought out to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the first CC8 that completed that complex testing. Now there were 49 CCXs made in total, but in various guises, and the CCXR Edition was one of the more track-focused variants. It has an uprated 4.8 8-litre supercharged V8, which puts out just over 800 horsepower and around 680 pound-foot of torque. But that's on standard fuel. The R variant is able to run E85 and E100 ethanol fuels, which ups power to 1,018 horsepower and around 780 pound-foot of torque. The car has stiffer springs, stiffer anti-roll bars, new dampers, a lowered chassis, that beautiful bare carbon fibre body, and as I mentioned, all the power goes through a 6-speed manual gearbox. The unique rear wing and larger front splitter make the car capable of producing 350 kilograms of downforce at 155 miles an hour. It weighs just 1,280 kilos, and at the time of its release, no other supercar could match the CCXR Edition in terms of power to weight ratio. Not that elegant getting in and out of a CCXR Edition. These side sills are so big, you kind of just have to throw yourself into the car and hope for the best. But in here it's pretty special. These seats are fairly tight. The dials, a little bit retro, as is this steering wheel, but it actually still feels kind of, well, unique. I was going to say futuristic, but actually now I'm looking at some of these items. Yeah, it looks more like 80s than noughties. But yeah, it's just a completely different kind of setup to any other car. You have this, I guess now iconic, super narrow, curved windscreen, which I think is what it would be like sitting in a fighter jet. At least that's what I get the impression of. Now, on this kind of central dash with these slightly retro-looking switches, you can see we've got this kind of circular load of buttons. And as I'm sure you're already aware, starting a Koenigsegg has a bit of theatre to it. So behind this massive gear lever, we have to first put the ignition on. So we hold that Koenigsegg button and hit ignition. Things fire into life. And then if we hold this and press the starter button, we're alive, people! And we're moving. Now, if you have watched this channel before, you'll know I love an analog supercar. I like to feel in control of the car that I'm driving. When it has close to 1,000 horsepower, it's not that easy to always feel in control. It's important to know I have as much assistance as I can activated in terms of traction control and things like that, but I am still largely on my own. If I floor this thing, we have to pay attention. It's a lot of power to, yes, some fairly fat tyres, but they can only do so much. So I'm just gonna build up my confidence and courage. Oh my God. I don't know if you can hear the noise, but it's like I imagine what a sort of a drag racer would sound like. It's very loud in a very intoxicating way. It just screams power. So different to other sort of super or hypercars of this era. Carrera GT, yes, but Ferrari Enzo. It's a little bit closer to an SLR McLaren in terms of sound and vibrations, but so much more extreme. It actually feels really small on the road. It sort of shrinks around you despite those massive side sills. It feels like quite a small and nimble car. And at these quite slow speeds, the ride quality is pretty nice. I'm not sure I want to hit a bump that hard. I feel like we could get some air, and that's probably the stiffened up sort of track focused suspension that we've got, but it's definitely not bone shattering. I tell you what though, the car is kind of egging, oh pun intended, egging me on. Just wants to deploy. Oh my, all that power. Nice firm brake pedal. I always say whenever I drive anything fast, I want a reassuringly firm brake pedal. If you ever drive a McLaren, whether it's the normal sports series cars right up to a P1, the pedal is like so long, nothing happens for so long, it's really disconcerting. But in this, yeah, I get the feeling if I stamp on the pedal, it's gonna stop. And there you go, down a gear and bloody hell! It's a lot, boys and girls. It feels like I'm spinning the world, not the other way round. Well, like I just pushed the world that I think I could time travel in this car, honestly. Back to a real Stone Age. There's something quite, well, it's analog, yes, but something almost
basic and rudimentary about it. It's like as if your Swedish mate Sven said, "Oh, last summer I built this car, it's crazy. Put this big engine in it and lots of power. It's so fun." Ages ago I drove a Caterham 620R, 720R. It was just too much power for like a little tiny thing. And this actually weirdly is kind of similar, where you're just aware you've got so much power and such a crazy engine in such a lightweight car. Despite the way this thing looks, it's less than 1,300 kilos. That's nothing. I just realised I wasn't really pushing the throttle that hard. One thing I haven't done yet really is show this thing any corners, which, you know, maybe I need to be careful before I do, but because of that lightweightedness, it feels nimble. Oh, I like this very much. It's also linear. That's what's so it feels very controllable and progressive, and it's not. I don't feel like it's going to surprise me at any point. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's therefore very rewarding. Every input I make, I get a sort of direct reaction to, an instant reaction to. Therefore, when I accelerate, I feel like I can control the power slightly. It's not like a turbocharged car where suddenly you're getting this big dump of power and the thing's stepping out all over the place. Steering is very nicely weighted. Oh, it's just a really, really nice bit of kit. A very expensive one though, we mustn't forget, but probably rightfully so. Especially if you look at all the other modern Koenigsegg's, and the view out of my rear view mirror, actually the view out front, it's special, and that's what it should be. This is a modern classic hypercar, not a supercar. And hypercars are all about the most extremes. It can't just be, you know, a car that you pop to Tesco's in. It's got to feel outrageous all the time, and this does feel absolutely outrageous. Wow. I mean, I kind of knew what I was signing up to when I went out in that car, but, well, it was just even more than I was expecting. I mean, it's a lot. It's super impressive. I actually had a pretty full-on passenger ride back here to the showroom, and my heart's racing a little bit still. Huge thanks to the Octane collection for letting me have a go in this thing, but also kind of motivating me to do so. When I came down here last time, I wasn't that interested in this thing. They really sold it to me, told me the story, explained what this thing is all about, and now I understand it. I really, really enjoy it. And has it made me change the way I feel about Koenigseggs in general? Yes and no. I am still annoyed by the sort of social media hype around them. I just feel like we shouldn't be talking about how much the cars are and how cool it makes you look and how insane the spec or the carbon fibre is, and just talk about the fact that they're incredible drivers' cars. I'm sure the new Koenigseggs are just as impressive to drive on the road as this, but because I like those analogue modern classics, this is just so up my street. So yeah, very, very cool. Now, like I mentioned, I'm actually now off on holiday. I don't think that will mean an interruption to the sort of usual scheduled content. It may mean that next week there's not an episode. No, I think there will be an episode next week. Anyway, subscribe now, turn on notifications so you don't miss whatever that future content is going to be. I actually already know what it's going to be, but anyway, moving on. And give this video a big thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. I'll catch up with you very, very soon.